Our story begins at the S-Rank Guild location, where a local dark-haired blacksmith named Sig arrived with a worried look on his face. He approached the guild master and asked him to reduce the quality of orders as they were unable to cope with the workload. At that moment, a dominant voice uttered a dissatisfied "ah," and then turned to Sig, asking him, "What kind of childish whims are these?" This guy's name is Schmidt, a tall blonde with long hair. He declared that they were adventurers, risking their lives every day, while the blacksmith sat in a safe and warm place. Therefore, Schmidt rejected Sig's request without hesitation. Here we go again. Sig clenches the guildmaster's order and gets angry, and you can understand him because they work to the limit of their abilities, sacrificing sleep, but still don't deserve any respect. The Wings of Glory Guild has its own blacksmith's workshop, and in addition to making weapons for its adventurers, accepts private orders for forging. The guildmaster has taken on an excessive number of outside orders and has also set quotas. Sig is forced to agree, despite the constant complaints of his workers. Sig agrees, saying that they will manage somehow this month, but the atmosphere in the room becomes tense, and Sig asks Guildmaster Schmidt for the opportunity to forge a single katana. Schmidt yawns and recalls that this dim-witted blacksmith wanted to make a katana. Sig declares that he had a contract with the previous guildmaster that allowed Sig to freely create katanas from the guild's materials. Schmidt begins to refuse, citing that Sig should not create such a fragile and stupid weapon as a katana. Sig tries to argue, but Schmidt immediately interrupts him, stating that he should only do what is written in the order. Schmidt asks Sig to get this idea out of his head because it is a foolish dream to create an unpopular weapon. Sig freezes. The room is filled with tension, and Sig realizes that his patience has reached its limit. Sig abruptly declares that he is quitting today. Schmidt immediately responds, "What? We're an S-rank guild, remember?" But Sig threw the order details on the floor and declared that it was Schmidt who had violated the terms of the contract. Schmidt tried to stop him and even got up from his seat, shouting that there were plenty of people vying for his position and asked Sig not to come back. Time skip. Sig comes to his room and sighs heavily. What a pity. He looks at his bed, which is littered with katana swords and books, and declares that at this pace of work and life, he would have broken down anyway. After a while, he collects all his belongings from the house and takes them to his magical forge. After putting his things away, Sig decides to go to the forge. Sig enters the forge where he hears the sounds of blows against the anvil and molten iron. Sig looks at his people, who continue to work diligently. One of the workers notices that he is gathering his tools and carrying a weapon, and asks if he is going on a business trip. Sig knew in his heart that he wanted to say goodbye, but he couldn't, because many of the blacksmiths were now accompanying a large-scale raid. After a while, many of the people from the smithy left, and left alone with another curious worker. He turned to him and told Torque that he wanted to leave the guild. Torque stammered, then began to shout, "It's already difficult for us with the new rules. What will happen if you leave?" Sig immediately turned away from him so as not to burn with shame and said that it would be easy to find a replacement for him. Torque understood that they were only coping because Sig was the perfect leader who helped everyone. Torque also didn't understand. What would happen to Kaidi's weapons? After all, only Sig knew how to work with them. Sig remembered her katana. He remembered Kaidi's silhouette, and he felt hurt because of this, because Kaidi was the only one who loved working with the katana. Sig completely relied on Torque, saying that now it was his job, but Cirque couldn't accept this, because Kaidi didn't trust anyone but Sig to work with her katana. Sig smiled sadly and asked Torque to take care of it. Sig silenced Torque, and choosing this perfect moment, declared that he would set an example for them, an example of a man who does not tolerate other people's piggish behavior towards him. Sig asked Torque to say goodbye to the others, then slammed the door loudly and left. So now Sig is in the city and doesn't know what to do next. One option, of course, is to find work in another guild, but he still prefers the idea of opening his own workshop, even though he doesn't have a license for it. Sig recalls the past, realizing that he worked insanely long hours and it all ended in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, Sig is drawn to the smell of lula kebab being cooked by a healthy man. Sig approaches and asks the man to make 2 stone bird axes, which surprises the man. "Oh, it's Sig." The girl asks if he is an acquaintance. The man replies that yes, he is an excellent blacksmith, and the girl is holding a super sharp knife made by Sig. Sig buys food and strolls through the beautiful city, tasting the juicy meat. Sig is glad that they found his knife useful and are using it carefully. At one point, Sig notices a strange man waving his sword around. Immediately, a knightly order appears and asks the unknown adventurer to drop his weapon immediately. A formidable girl declares that if he resists, she will kill him. The man immediately lunges at the girl, asking if she thinks he's an idiot. The girl tries to attack the strong man, but Sig realizes that the man's sword is too powerful, and if the girl continues to defend herself, her sword will simply not withstand it. The girl ends up trying to block the blow, and her sword breaks immediately. The girl freezes. The sword of the proud Scarlet clan just broke. The man immediately takes control of the fight, and Sig immediately jumps up, causing the locals to start worrying, realizing that he is just a blacksmith and cannot do anything to the criminal. Sig stands up for her, making the man angry, while Sig focuses, sharply draws his blade, and breaks the strong man's sword in half. Of course, everyone is immediately surprised that the katana was able to cut through stone, and Sig, making sure that the girl is okay, immediately silences the bully, declaring that he will be next. This causes the bully to collapse from exhaustion, and the order springs into action, immediately detaining the insolent man. Sig tries to say something clever, but immediately puts the scabbard back, hoping that his katana is intact. At this moment, the girl thanks Sig, introducing herself as Seiya Scarlet from the Third Knight Order. Scarlet asks the savior's name, but he says he didn't do anything special. Sig then says goodbye and wishes Scarlet luck in her service. But Scarlet says that won't do because she has to thank her savior. Scarlet then turns to the witnesses, surprised that everything they said was true. Sig is an incredibly talented blacksmith with a cool sword. That is, it's not even about Sig's talent, but the fact that he is insanely good. At that moment, Torka's subordinates in the smithy ask what is so special about Mr. Sig. Is it really about the katanas? Almost no one uses them. According to the assistant, they lost nothing after Sig's departure. Sig single-handedly fulfilled all orders and revealed almost nothing about himself. Sig used an individual approach for each tool, and it wasn't just katanas but other weapons as well, even simple knives or scissors. If Sig made them, any item would become a lifelong companion for its owner. For Sig, blacksmithing means finding an approach to the person who will use his creation. At this moment, Sig is in the middle of the forest, realizing that this is the first time in a long time that he has picked up a katana. This blade is one of a kind, and he created it especially for Sig because he is a blacksmith, so he simply must know how to use it. Although the katana is an unpopular and fragile weapon, when the user and the blade are in harmony, it can cut through even a long sword. But what is also wonderful is the gleam of the sharpened blade. After all, he loves katanas and wants to live by creating them, just like in those days. Flashback Siga's house, where his relative teaches Siga to forge blades, saying that he needs to imagine whose hand the blade will fit, with what force and at what distance he will strike. Yes, it was Siga's father who guided him throughout his life. Siga creates tools that save the lives of those who use them. With his current skills, it is possible. For Sig, it is a small village, but there is clean water and a mine with materials. The people are nice and there are no rules or regulations set by guilds. Sig thinks he can do it. Now it's time for him to go home. And this will be a story about how a blacksmith who returned to his native village met many comrades and became a legend. Is this just the beginning of the journey? Finally, Sig arrives back, remembering that he hasn't been here in a very long time. After a month of traveling and endless changes of plans, he finally reaches his native village of Folka. So Sig decides to greet an old friend first. He knocks on a door in the village and greets the village elder, Bales, a small, bald old man. Bales greets Sig with a smile, not even recognizing him because Sig has grown so much. Bales is surprised to learn that he has resigned and asks how this happened. Sig explains that they had a difference of opinion. While Sig explains to the elder why he left, a couple of girls standing outside the windows eavesdrop on their conversation. Sig declares that he wants to surpass his father, and Sig decided that he wanted to return to this very place for that purpose. But Bales is not stupid. He explains to Sig that they still have a village, and it is unlikely that there will be people here who can appreciate his work. Sig understands, but he just wants to do blacksmithing for his own pleasure, and that's enough for him. Bales cries a little, saying that Sig is an exact copy of his father. Sig says that their house and workshop are still in the same place and asks if he will live there. Bales also says that their blacksmith is getting old and asks him to replace him. After all, everyone will be happy to have a former blacksmith from the S-rank guild. Sig says that he can make not only weapons, but also knives, sickles, axes, and other tools. Bales is delighted because Sig previously only knew how to sharpen blades, and now he has become incredibly reliable. After that, Sig sets off and finally finds his forge. Upon entering, he discovers that it is completely overgrown with cobwebs. Sig also finds the rack for his father's katana, but he cannot find the sword itself. Still, Sig smells iron and coal and feels an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. He is about to relax, but something bothers him. The living area! He immediately opens the windows and lets everything air out. The furniture in their house remains untouched, and even the cute drawings by Sig remain on the walls. He decides to start cleaning using magic. After a while, Sig finds the two girls on the street, whom he mistakes for sisters because they look so much alike. Sig tries to greet them, but realizes that the sisters are afraid of him. Finally, the girls take each other's hands, saying that they saw him with the headman and decided to say hello. Sig understands everything, and then the girls introduce themselves. The older one is called Liliana, and the younger one is called Atra. They work on a farm and hunt. Sig is surprised, really. They are young, but they already know how to hunt. But the sisters only reply that they started doing this to help their mother. Sig understands all this. The girls offer to help Sig, and he immediately agrees. During the process, Sig amazes the girls with his magic and physical strength, and the girls realize that Sig is someone special. And finally, warmth reigns in the smithy. Sig thanks them for their help and asks if he can forge something for them. The older sister remembers that the village head mentioned that Sig is a skilled blacksmith. The younger sister doesn't understand. What is a blacksmith? Sig holds out his katana and says that a blacksmith is a person who makes weapons like this. He offers the girl a look, but warns her to be careful because it is dangerous. The girl opens the scabbard and marvels at the skillful katana, saying that it is very beautiful. Sig also says that he can make any tool, just like weapons, then asks again if they need any. The younger sister clenches her fist and shouts that she needs a knife, like her sisters. The older sister is stunned, while the younger one simply says that she wants to help her cook. Sig is surprised. Wow, good for you, Astra. The younger sister also says that her sister finds it uncomfortable to use a knife, which the older sister confirms, because knives are for adults. Sig says that it will be difficult work, and the little one starts to get sad. Really, is that so? In the end, Sig promises 2 knives tomorrow, and the 2 sisters thank her and run home. Now Sig is at home, exhausted from cleaning up as soon as he got back. It's time for him to rest, and it's already dark outside. Sig decides to sort out his tools, but then realizes that he has already started preparing for the working day out of habit. He hasn't slept properly for several days. His body's exhausted, and since he returned, all he can think about is forging. Sig understands that he cannot overcome his nature. He has his materials with him. By the way, every blacksmith is unique. Sig, for example, uses magic to increase the efficiency of forging. Some blacksmiths despise this, but in a guild where you have to constantly meet deadlines, there was no choice. Sig heated the temperature to 800 degrees, and now he needs to join the steel to the base metal. Sig will use boron and iron oxide to bond the steel to the heated base, and then by heating and hammering, Sig will force them to join together. Once the base and steel are fully bonded, he shapes the knife from the blank. Finally, Sig cools the knife and smiles. It has been a long time since Sig has been able to do what he loves without being rushed by deadlines. Sig wiped the sweat from his brow and took out the molten metal. He had seen this so many times before, but he never got tired of it. Quite the contrary. The more he watched, the more mesmerized he became. Sparks create a flame in people that never goes out. This is what many blacksmiths love about their work. Sig shouted, "Excellent!" After that, Sig decided to test the knife, throwing a piece of fruit at it and cutting it, and not just that. Sig was embarrassed. He had gotten too carried away and realized that he had created a dangerous weapon. He was tired and had lost his concentration. It was too dangerous to give it away. Sig needs to work more calmly, as Atra's hands seem to be stronger than those of her peers, and he needs to make a sheath. At this time, the guild's weapons are noticeably losing quality, and the guild members notice this. After Sig arrives at the sister's house, the sister's mother already knows who Sig is. Sig meets Cynthia, the sister's mother, Liliana's mother, and Atra's mother. Cynthia tells Sig that they are both waiting for the knives that Sig is forging for them. Sig has already prepared them, which surprises the young MILF because only one evening has passed. Sig shows them the two knives and the sisters come over and see Sig, immediately running to him. Sig himself smiles and says that he brought the knives as promised. He asks, "Would you like to try them?" The girls are ready and accept the two knives as a gift. They take the knives out of their sheaths and are amazed. The girls really like the gift and even stare at them. The MILF is also surprised. She has never seen such beautiful knives. Then the younger girl wants to cut something. She starts cutting a huge carrot, and Sig tries to stop her, but she has already cut the cutting board. Sig then begins to explain how to use the knives correctly. The girls also discover that Sig's work is delightful. They find that the knives even fit perfectly in their hands. How did Sig take the measurements? Sig explains that during their handshake, Sig says that this is his job. By shaking hands, Sig can understand a lot: the dominant hand, size, or shape, but also the approximate structure of the bones and muscles. The MILF is surprised. Cool. With this information, Sig can make what best suits the customer. The girls thank him with a smile and say they will cherish this knife. The word "thank you" can save the soul of a craftsman. When Sig worked in the guild, orders were taken by employees of another department and then forwarded to the workshop. But when you see the customer face to face, it is much easier to make the right tool. Sig begins to understand what needs to be fixed. He put his feelings and his soul into these knives. Now Sig understands why it was all so much fun. Once upon a time, even in the wings of glory, Sig could work like this. But the guild became more and more famous, orders increased, there was less time to communicate with customers, and then they completely banned the production of katanas. Sig didn't even see his customers. He did everything on an assembly line, fulfilling his daily quota. But still, at some point, his soul grew cold. Sig is happy to see a satisfied customer. That is the best reward for him. How he missed this work directly, creating individual tools for people. Then the girl decides to ask Sig to make something else, and Sig asks her to make arrowheads. Sig remembers that the older girl hunts because her father was a skilled hunter, and she learned from him. But their father's life was taken by an epidemic, and the sister is trying to replace him, but so far without success. So she thought that. Then Sig asked permission to look at the bow and arrows as a sample. Sig touches the arrow and then asks Liliana to shoot him once. After Liliana shows her technique, Sig says that it's not bad, hitting the target is not a problem for Liliana, but she lacks the strength to kill. Liliana says that his knives are very sharp and asks if it is possible to make them lighter without losing their penetrating power. Sig thinks about it and says that he will do it today and asks the girl to come back in the afternoon. Then Sig starts making hot arrowheads because he needs to increase their penetrating power while maintaining their strength. He removes all the tips with a hammer, puts on new ones, and happily leaves the workshop. He then goes to Liliana and shows her the result. Sig attaches one tip and asks her to try shooting at a tree in the backyard. The girl shoots and pierces several trees with her arrow, which amazes her. The girl is amazed, saying that not all of her former colleagues are capable of such a thing, and she asks Sig, "Can everyone in the city do this?" The next day, the mayor gathered a crowd of people in the central square, which surprises Sig. They are all incredibly sad because the mayor forced them to come there in the past. Suddenly, an incredibly arrogant guy approaches Siga and asks if he is the skilled blacksmith that the mayor told them about. Siga says that he doesn't know how skilled he is, but yes, he was asked to help. Siga can repair and sharpen tools, any equipment, anything. The guy fearfully hands him an axe, saying that Siga looks incredibly uncertain and he is even afraid to trust him with his tool, but he simply has no choice. Seeing the guy's hands, Sig immediately realizes that he is a woodcutter. His strong, bandaged hands make everything clear. Sig declares that he will do the job for 30 silver coins, and even if the customer doesn't like it, he will give him a discount. Sig immediately takes a sharpening tool out of his bag and begins to make noise using magic, forcing the axe to create clean layers. The customer panics. Who sharpens so aggressively? The axe is thick, so it will be fine. Sig also understands that the sad locals are trying to evaluate his work, from which Sig understands that he just needs to focus on his work. Afterwards, Sig hands the axe to the customer, who is satisfied. The axe is beautiful and very sharp, easily cutting through everything it needs to. Sig asks if the customer recognizes his skills. The customer replies that after seeing this, no one would doubt them. Now everyone wants to have their axes sharpened by Sig, and he apparently has a flood of orders. Now Sig sees that they are bringing him many tools that are used with love, and here he has something to strive for. At this time, a new person appears in the guild where Sig used to work, Miss Saya, who is looking for a blacksmith who forges katanas with the utmost skill. A blacksmith named Senor.